listening to the Live, Live, Play podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Live, Live, Play podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Kinsella, and it is the new year, and I have a very good friend, not let's say best friend, very good friend. It's the way I do things twice. This is the second time recording this, but I do the same stuff every time. So Thomas Keating is with me. He's over from England. He's a former Irish native, now full on supports the Queen, and a big Boris Johnson fan.
Yeah,
loves what he's doing, as in he's doing nothing, so he loves the fact that he can still do whatever he wants. But yeah, so Thomas is a very good friend of mine. I've known him for, most of my life, and today we're going to discuss just kind of the different roads we've taken that would go a little bit against the norm of what most people would do. And it's not that what we're doing is better or worse, it's a different mindset, and it's a different kind of where I think with the term safety and security versus risk and reward come into play a little bit. And we had a good conversation the other night about it, and I was like, yeah, we should put this on a podcast. So starting off, I think Thomas was firstly, Thomas, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Firstly, when we were in school together, you were the fitness guy. You were into every sport. You played every sport.
Yeah.
And then when you left school, people assumed I was going to do one thing, which very few people still find it hard to believe I wanted to be a history teacher. Even my guidance counselor, who advised me not to, because I wasn't, pretty much in a roundabout way, wasn't intelligent enough to be a history teacher. Rather than saying, hey, if you worked hard and did an extra year, you could probably get there. He goes, nah, you like sports, do fitness. Okay, two of them are not the same, by the way. But I did look where I am today. And Thomas was the same. Thomas was all about sports captain, all that. Were you a sports captain?
Yes.
Yeah, sports captain. And yeah, then Thomas went down a different road. And I'll let Thomas kind of tell a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, so it's like you said, there was almost a map laid out for us early on in school because of what we did and sports levels that we went to and the things that we kind of competed in, such as athletics, Gaelic football, basketball. No matter what it was, we kind of threw our hat at it. Probably me a little bit more than anyone in the school I would have thought at the time. And then there was this roadmap just laid out for me without me even knowing it. And albeit I didn't really want a career in sport, I just liked playing it and doing it, and fitness never kind of dawned on me. But again, guidance counsellor sat down, 5th year, 6th year, this is the route you need to take. You probably don't have the grades to get to there, and there. And again, it wasn't really a supportive structure at our school. Great school, but again, that level of support I don't think was there back then. Parents didn't pressure me to do an awful lot either, but they just wanted me to be happy in the route I took. And then it just so happened that when we did a couple of plays and the musicals at school, I found that I enjoyed that. And then someone came to the school and had a chat about it, and the rest was history, because it was only because the guidance counsellor put a form in for me for Sally as well, and that annoyed me because he was trying to plan my future for me, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And because I had this passion to get on stage and do a few things, which was within our group of friends, even in my family, wasn't, as you said, the norm. And people were like, well, how are you going to make a career out of that? How are you going to do that? That's too risky. You can't do that because you need a steady job. You need to look after a family or get a house. And I didn't want any of that.
Yeah.
So for me, it was then, I'm going to try and see how this goes for the 3 years in college. And then see what goes after that, and then just kind of the rest was a little bit of history, really.
And I think a lot of people can kind of get that from Thomas and understand it, is that you're kind of pigeonholed to do things, even if you're good at them. Yeah, and that sounds about right. Yeah, if you're good at something, you should want to pursue it. But maybe you're not good at something and you want to pursue that, but you want to put the work in and see what happens. And it's something that you can be good at something and not enjoy it. And you could be bad at something or new to something and really love it.
Yeah.
And you just haven't been given the outlet in life to immerse yourself in it or go into it. And I think the thing about like when you're in school and you're told you need to do this or well, you're good at this, you should be here. Um, I and then it's the security aspect. Oh well, you're good at this and you'll get a job here, and
Yeah.
then you'll find a woman or a man or whatever you're into, and you find and you'll settle down, you'll get a house, and you'll have some kids, and you'll be married and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And as much as all that is pretty much most people security for I know for me and for you is not the be all and end all. And I don't like and you're the same. You agreed with me on this. Is it we don't like putting our faith and our kind of my life in someone else's hands. As in, if I work for a bank or if I work, and again, there's nothing wrong. We're not we're not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but for me personally, I know for Thomas is that we wanted to see what we could do, what we could create, and I want to be in control of what's happening in my life. So if stuff's gone wrong, it's my issue. I have to fix it. No one else can come in and save me. I have to fix. I have to figure it out and fix it. It's the way I've kind of operated. And yes, I've had help building a business and building the company. But I've learned and learned and learned. I don't want to. The thought for me is just getting a job that's a 9 to 5. Like just a standard is, and then not progressing, just doing that rudimentary work for the rest of your life or till you retire. It's not appealing to me. Now I know again for some people it's what they want and they're happy.
Yeah.
And once you're happy, that's cool. But for me and I know for you, it's not what we wanted. So we went different roads and different avenues. And yours took you even out of the country.
Yeah, well, that was it. Like, so spent 3 years in Bray College doing performing arts, acting, and theatre.
Now, just for people that don't know, Bray is in Ireland. It's not outside of Ireland.
Yeah. Crossing the border from Ballybrack into Wicklow.
Tough.
And it was, again, it was the best thing I ever did because even though I was quite confident in myself in other areas, there was people I was coming up against that were phenomenal actors, phenomenal at various different things within theatre, whether it be set design, lighting, musicality side of stuff, and it took me out of a comfort zone that I'd never known before. And what I enjoyed about that then, and what I found out more about myself, was being that whole cliched saying of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I never knew that until I got there, and that then set me up for more stuff later on in life. But what obviously the theatre side of things done for me was enable me to, as I said, move out of home, but not just move out of home, move out of the country. So my first living away from my mum and dad's house was moving to England.
And how old are you then?
Just turned 21.
And most people now are like, it's like most people back then. I know people are saying about now, but most people back then were still living at home into towards their 30s.
Yeah.
And you got up and just went completely out on your own.
Yeah. I went over there and stayed with my brother for a few weeks in Wales whilst I was travelling back and forth to London. Lucky enough to get. And I say lucky, actually, luck has a small part to do with it. I worked my backside off to get there. And I remember a teacher telling me before when I said that word, I was lucky to get across there. I went to audition after audition after audition, so the work was put in as well. But there is an element to of obviously that little bit of luck and right place and all that. But and the idea was to go over for a few months, see how it went, and I'm coming up to over 18 years now.
Yeah.
Over there with various different pathways that have gone on, but it took me out of the country again. Wasn't the route I was supposed to take, and just because of a little kind of chat with that didn't go the right way with a guidance counsellor, so to speak, I had some of the best times of my life.
Yeah, and and this is something that I think is that a conversation with someone can deter you from achieving a goal or put you off, especially if you're a younger person, because you're easily influenced by other people who have experience. And like you're stubborn, bullheaded a mule to the best part, as in you don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
I'm quite similar. I'm a kind of I'll prove you wrong because you said I couldn't do it kind of person.
Yeah.
And that has a really good place, I think, if you're driven to go and achieve or try and risk. And like I said earlier, if you're willing to, like, I'm willing to burn the boat. I'm willing to risk everything to see what happens. And I've done that multiple times in my life. And I've done that with my business. And it was because I had to. I had no security net to fall back on. And I believe that if I had a security net, I probably wouldn't have done some of the things that allowed me to be here today because I had a security net.
You would have
And
played it safer, a
I would
much
have, yeah,
safer route than you would have done to what you do now.
because the risk didn't have to work, didn't
Yeah.
have to pan out. And I'll give you an example is when we were moving out of our building, we were getting kicked out of our building, given 3 months. Landlord has been like, after we kind of, well, we shook on another deal, and then he came back and goes, I'm selling. So always sign the paper before you shake hands with someone is a lesson there. But one of the things was, there was a point, I'm thinking about, it was about 2 weeks where I was like, right, it's over. FSM is
Yeah.
done. I'm gonna just, and I spoke to you,
Mhm.
and we couldn't find a venue, and I was like, we had to take a loan out to get the new venue up and running, because it was a meat factory. We spent a lot of money to make a building a warehouse, where most people go into a warehouse, spend a lot of money to make it a
something
gym.
else.
So we
Yeah.
did, we were again a step behind. And it was one of those things like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to go work for someone? You're going to go back to a normal gym, Globo gym, and become a duty manager again, and run a facility which you hated, but there's security in it? Or are you going to make it work? So, in fact, it's 2 years now. We've definitely made it work. And the company, like, we're doing stronger than we've ever done. We're in a bigger position, but it was risk every time. Are you willing to risk? You're willing to sign with the bank. You're willing to take the 10-year lease. You're willing to do all those things to make yourself. You're willing to risk to get to where you want to be. And for me, it's always been yes.
Mm.
And even with kids now, I still, obviously, I'm a little bit more reserved, but I'm still willing to risk, because I can see, like, and we've said this loads of times, I have no problem ever having to clean toilets,
No.
work
Yeah.
in a McDonald's or a fast food restaurant. Not again, I don't feel there's anything wrong with that, but I will always have a job, and I will always support
Yeah.
my family, no matter what, because that's what you should do. Like,
Yeah. 100% agree. And the thing with that as well, we're saying, since having kids now, as well, the outlook hasn't changed. You know
yeah,
what I mean? The outlook of taking a risk or taking a chance hasn't changed, because I want to pass it on to my kids. I want to say, no, go for it. Go for it and do it. If you want to do that, if you want to get out and you want to be, obviously now they're all doing the YouTuber and stuff. So if you want to
yeah.
go out and be a YouTuber, see what happens.
And
It's a thing now.
it's a realistic career.
Yeah. If you want to go out and you want to work in a bank, by
Hmm?
all means, go work in a bank. If you want to be an accountant, you want to be in fitness, you want to be in theatre. Like my son's 4 years old and he goes, I want to be a train fixer.
Yeah,
Go and be a train fixer. Don't care. Do you know what I mean? Do what you want. Take the chance. If it falls on its arse, it falls on its arse.
yeah,
You've tried it. Now, again, like you just said there, and you hit the nail on the head. When you have kids, you have to be just that little bit more mindful
yeah,
of the risks you take. You have to be a bit more calculated. And as you get older, you have a better head on your shoulders to make those risks and know,
yeah,
actually, that is a risk, but it's a risk I know I can do something with.
yeah.
It's not a risk that I'm throwing too many eggs in the basket just yet. Do you mean I'm keeping one or two behind, and you go and do it? But it's
Mm.
still a risk to, whether it's your livelihood, whether it's to your business, whether you're going to go and work for your own. Your case, FSM, because I remember that conversation we had like it was yesterday,
Yeah,
and I remember seeing the video that you put out just before, like, do you mean that you weren't going to put out before, where you were near enough at.
oh yeah, that was a few years prior. Yeah,
Yeah,
when we
and
were
what
about to
are we
close.
going to
Yeah,
do? And there was a lot of our friends, your family, do you know what I mean, going, do you need to move back into doing something a bit more safer?
yeah.
And you didn't.
I was told, when are you going to give up this gym thing?
Yeah,
It's not working, and that hurt. I'll be honest, that hurt, because it just shows that people didn't have faith in you. And then the more I think about it, it's not that people didn't have faith. on some level, people were kind of happy
Yeah.
that you risking didn't work, because if you risk and it works, and they wanted to risk but
Yeah.
didn't have the belief to do it, they're that's a thing at them. It's not about you. And yeah, I had that, and I had those conversations with many people that would be friends, family,
Mm.
that were not. They were supportive, but not supportive because of the way they spoke to me. As in, oh, you need to kind of like you might need to shut down. Or,
Yeah.
like it was very few people, and Thomas is probably one of the very few I could count on one hand that were like, you got to work harder. You gotta, if you want it, you go do it. You'll make it work. And yeah, and it's the same for you. Like you had some rough times where we had those conversations back, and I was like, "Listen, if that's what you want to do, this is how you going to go about doing it." And
Yeah.
it was always a back and forth between me and Thomas, um, because there was generally, if you go, "Hey, have you got a few minutes?"
Yeah.
There's something up with you, and if I say, "Hey, have you got a few minutes?"
Yeah.
There's something up with me, and we want to run something past. And Thomas has said to me like, "No, I don't know if that's a good idea," and I back at you. And but if it's something that you want to do, then
Yeah.
this is the like you got to be willing to accept the outcome and the sacrifice that comes with it. And like I said to you, like you said there, like as you're older, you have to make smarter decisions. So if you are my age, 39 still, um,
Don't look a day over 21, mate.
don't look a day over 21. Uh, but if you're my age and you're like, hey, I've always wanted to risk something, but I never did, and you have a job and you have a family, and you're like, I can't do it because I have a family. Well, what are you doing when you finish work? What are you doing when the kids go to bed?
Mm.
Stay up later, like stay up the extra 4 hours and put in the work and the time and the study to become something that you really want to do, rather than just accepting something that makes you miserable. If it's making you miserable, obviously that's the thing. But and that's a lot of hard work. But here's the thing: none of this was easy.
No.
Like no, like going to audition and like getting an audition or not getting an audition. I'm sure that wasn't easy.
No.
And
No.
then like switching roles, like literally switching industries, wasn't
Yeah.
easy to
Yeah.
step into.
That was yeah, it's a mental. So when I was a bit of a cliche actor as well, so I had your part-time job in retail, and a part-time job as a waiter.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And I was going to auditions. And when I was working in London, I was 3 years in London, and you were auditioning pretty much every day, 2 or 3 auditions, near enough a day some days.
Mm.
So your thick skin becomes quite, do you know what I mean? Thick, obviously, but because you just go, well, I've got another audition, I've got another audition.
Yeah.
But as you kind of moved away from I moved away from London, and I got a part time job in sales, and that was the industry I then got into. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I just utilised sales as something as an exercise for acting, because I could be different people. That's it was,
Mm.
and I like talking to people, and it was just from that. And I worked at a phone shop part time, and I was still doing the acting stuff. And then it came to a thing one time. I just said I hit the nail on the head with the acting professionally, and just kind of walked away from it. That wasn't easy to do, but it was. I could see a career in the future then within sales,
Yeah.
and I did take a little bit of the safe choice there, because that was the mindset at the time. But yeah, it was trying to change the whole career, working my way through that industry for 12 years, doing quite well actually. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Did very very well. Moved very few companies. Got brought across from one company to another a couple of times because I'd done well in the other companies, and then moved in, and then there was a conversation with you after being very heavy, which we can
Yes.
go into. So whilst I was in England, I became overweight, no fitness behind me, 14 and a half stone, a 5'4". That's not a look that you need, and had a very honest conversation that we always have with
Yeah.
Stephen, and got back into training. And I hated my job by this stage as well. I did hate it. Didn't like the industry anymore, and I was only there because it was the safe option at the time. So I'd gone away from a lot of the kind of thought mindsets that I had in the past, and I just kept going on that safe process. And once I was with Stephen, I was doing training through FSM, and we were doing it online. And when I came over to visit, I started losing the weight, started enjoying my fitness again, and then there was a sit down conversation about me coming into the fitness industry.
Mm.
And again, another huge risk because I was going into a whole new industry that I didn't have a clue about. Shouldn't have even been going near it
Yeah.
at all. And lo and behold, I got a phone call one day about a gym looking for a manager. And again, took a massive risk from coming away from something I knew and knew very well and could have earned a lot of money from. Took a pay cut, started working in London, and the travel was then eating away at my pay as well then. But it was a happier lifestyle.
Yeah.
It was better for me. It was better for my family. I was a better person to be around at times. So yeah, but yeah, changing those industries again. And I remember speaking to my mum and dad about it, and very old kind of fashion thing at times was like, "Are you sure that's the right thing to do? Do you know what I mean? Go and do it, but you sure that's the right thing to do? Why would you move a job at this time? Why would you do that?" There's a lot of questions that were okay questions asked, but they were very negative based questions, if you know what I mean. So, and without them probably trying to be negative, it was all,
Yeah.
"Oh, should you? Should you? Maybe, maybe
And
not."
it's coming from a obviously like it's a parental
place.
thing. It's like I want to protect.
Yeah,
It's a parental thing, and it's like when your kids grow up and my kids grow up, it'll be the same thing. They'll go, I might want to do this." You're like, yeah, but you sure?
yeah,
Like it's, but at the end of the day, it's if it's potentially going to make you happier,
yeah,
if it's potentially going to give you a lifestyle that you're willing to risk your current lifestyle for, then yeah, go for it. And here's the thing, it doesn't always work. Like,
no,
there's been decisions I've made, and I'm sure you've done the same. Decisions I've made where I lost bad, I failed miserably. And then I've had to pick myself up and dust myself off and then go find the people that have done something like that before and then help me get to where I want to be. And I think that that's a big thing, is that people want to be able to, I want to risk, but once I don't fail, then you're not risking.
yeah,
And I think you have to be able to be willing to lose it and then rebuild it. And if you have the conviction in yourself that you can rebuild and you can overcome that adversity of losing a job or like taking a pay cut to pursue something that could work out,
yeah,
um, I would say go for it. And then the worst case scenario is you go back to where you were. You get another job in an industry that you weren't. Maybe to leave the industry to come back is to the industry that you love.
yeah,
Like I left the fitness industry years ago because I hated every aspect of it that I knew at the time. And then when I was traveling, that's when I found the industry was not just the normal gym. It was strength and conditioning, and it was all sorts of meeting coaches that were passionate and really invested in developing themselves and developing their clients. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So when I came home, I sought out people like that. I started training and educating myself more. And that was the big insight to me, was if you're not constantly trying to better yourself,
yeah,
you're never going to see what's out there. And whether that's reading books or education in your career or your industry
yeah.
or what, like anything, if you're not trying to be a better person, understand yourself more, um, deal with shit that you have,
And
I
that's,
think that's like vitally important to growth and to your overall happiness.
yeah, and forgive me, obviously forgetting, but it's a very Irish thing not to talk about yourself, not to grow yourself. It's a very Irish thing to just kind of dig it deep down and just say, "Ah, forget about that for a
Yeah.
while and see what happens." Now again, I've been very fortunate to have a friend like yourself that I can open up to and talk to. Again, if I was with a group of mates,
Mm.
probably now a bit more that we're a bit older, you could
Yeah.
talk to them
Yeah.
a lot more.
You couldn't back then, though.
But back when we were teenagers and early 20s, you wouldn't have said
Yeah.
anything about it. You know what I mean? Even to families, and that the asking for help's not a sign of weakness, which a lot of people tend to think it is, and seeking better things for yourself is not also. Do you know what I mean? People just think, well, why would you want to do that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got this. Why? And a lot of people I knew as well couldn't see why I always want. There was always another goal.
Yeah.
There's always another thing. So once I finish something,
What's next?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what my head's like. What's the next step? Well, why can't you be content with that? For that, when people used to say,
Yeah.
because I'm not content with just being good. I'm content with being
Yeah.
great or better or excellent. Will I ever get to excellence? No, because I'm not silly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's that Matthew McConaughey speech where he talks about who's my hero. I'm my hero 5 years from now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? because I'm never going to get to there because I'm always trying to strive.
Yeah.
And it's just about getting better, and there's nothing wrong with it. And people don't do enough self work
Yeah.
either, and that's the other thing that needs to happen in these things, because if you do a lot of self work and a lot of self understanding, you'll know that failing is not a bad thing. How the hell do you learn if you don't fail? Do you know what I mean? If you don't make a mistake, how will you learn as well?
Yeah.
It's being willing to not make those mistakes 6 or 7 times. You can make them once or twice. Do you know what I mean? But very rarely should you be doing any more than that. And
Yeah.
you
If
just need
you're doing it too often, then
you're not learning. Do you know
you're
what I
not
mean?
learning.
So, and you have to be willing, as you said, to make the sacrifice to try and do something. Yes, as you get older, you need to be more calculated, as we said. But go out there and do something that you want to do, and for you, and hopefully that's a byproduct of then you getting it for your family,
Yeah.
and then for everyone else around you, and you become a better person. The There's a whole host of things that like I've gone up and down in the last 4 to 5 years. Do you know what I mean? When I went into LA Fitness as a global gym as a manager, I was a gym manager, but I was very much a sales manager.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then Pure Gym took them over, and they're a massive budget chain, global gym in the UK. Great company to work for at the start. Then you became a number. You're no different to when you worked at a Tesco or something like that. You know what I mean? You were just a little pawn in their thing, but they know how to run a business. Do you know what I mean? So, however, didn't see eye to eye with them and all of the way, and I had to move myself away from it. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
just like in that though, so sorry for cutting you across. Like in that though, as you said, you had a bad experience with that gym, but the learning experience wasn't a bad experience.
No.
Some of the issues were bad, but the learning that came from it, like I don't want to work with these type of people anymore. I want to do this. I can take this positive away, and that in every kind of experience, be it good, bad, or indifferent, there's always a learning curve to have, and like you say, like if you're not doing self work, like for me, I have the planner now. The last say 6 7 months of the planner, it's been hit and miss. I'm not doing the evening planning the most. I do the morning ones more. And my goal is this year is to commit to getting my evening planner done.
Yeah.
And that's just it's pure laziness. But here's the thing: if you're not acknowledging what you're doing on a daily basis, weekly basis, you're missing out on your wins. So when you look back on your week, you've had a bad week because you only focus on the negatives.
Yeah.
It's very rare. And I'm the same as you. Like after I did the 50K ultra, within 2 3 days, and that's only been 2 months ago. Within 2 3 days, I was like, "Oh, what's next? Like, it's over. It's past. It's gone. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's move on." Even though I've mentioned it probably in every podcast so far. But what's next? And I think that's a different trait. Like some people want to like live on their accomplishment, and that's cool. I personally think that like I need like what's my next goal? Where am I going to be this time next year? What can I look back on? And I think when it comes to I think when it comes to working with people along, I'm after losing my train of thought, and the reason why I lost my train of thought because a coach just popped his head in the window and he's looking for me right now. So we're just gonna pause this and I'll go check what's going on. And we're back. So we were talking about kind of obviously Thomas when you were in different gyms and the different learning experiences you have. And then like again risk reward and taking all that. One of the things I want to touch on, and you kind of touched around it earlier, was obviously showing emotion. You couldn't really do that when we were younger. You'd be a man, you shut up, stop crying, don't be a girl, all that kind of stuff. And I'm only bringing this up because I'm literally reading a book at the moment. Well, I'm listening to a book at the moment called War Cry or Battle Cry. It's one of them. And it's a quite an interesting book. It's about opening up your emotions, and to a lot of people that know me personally, like, what the hell is he talking about? He's a robot. He's a cyborg. He doesn't have a heart. I do. I just don't do certain things with it. But that thing of, and this is a question to you, is because now more men talk, and we still need to talk more. More men talk, and they're more open about their like their feelings and how things make them feel, and that's kind of would be deemed as non-masculine before. And the book I'm reading is that it's a very masculine thing to do, but and the author touched on it. I'll get it up now. And Jordan Peterson touched on it. And whether you like him or not, he says some really good stuff. Jason Wilson. Jason Wilson, Battle Cry. Jason Wilson is, you might have seen him on YouTube or Facebook, Instagram. He teaches young kids. We teach a lot of kids through, I think it's the Kade calls it, and martial arts, and how to be strong and to open up emotionally to become a stronger human. But he also touched on the fact that what he's seeing is now you can't be like a man's man shouldn't exist. You should be very emotional man and very kind of soft and delicate. And he's like, he doesn't agree. He said you should have that and you should be able to use that when necessary. But again, you should be able to be strong for your family, for your morals, for your convictions. And Jordan Peterson's the same. He said a strong man, a real man, is a dangerous man who can control it. And he doesn't mean dangerous as in he's physically dangerous. What dangerous is in he's like he would be the typical the hero in the story kind of man. But that man also has fear, also has emotion, but he can overcome them when needed. He doesn't completely shut them off. But do you think that the way it's going probably for our kids eventually when they're older, that and it's called it's getting rid of being a man, what would be what we grew up with? Do you think that that's a necessity, or is that just an aspect that is going to be lost?
I think it's definitely going in a way that it could be lost. Being a man's man, there's a time and a place to be what they define as a man. Like back when we were growing up, and then that whole man up term. Do you know what I mean? Like I have no problem saying this next thing about myself. Like I've always worn my heart on my sleeve, whether it be playing football, whether it be falling in love, whether it be, do you know what I mean, going out there and just like I'd be very different to you, and wouldn't be afraid to show emotion in the sense of crying.
I'm not afraid.
No, but I've never seen Steve cry, and I don't think he ever has. But
I have.
But
excuse me, I have cried.
I've just never seen it. That's all.
Yeah. I remember the last time I did it. It's just something that doesn't.
It's not for everyone, and it doesn't happen with everyone. But there's a different way to feel sadness than crying as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and crying doesn't automatically mean sadness.
Yeah, also means happiness.
Yeah,
Well, you're like, I was like, oh, did you cry when your baby was born? I said, well, I didn't. I was elated when my baby was born. I know people that did. I don't slag them for it. I don't slag anyone for getting upset over things.
No.
But that's your, like, who you are.
Yeah, definitely. But there's definitely a time and a place to be, as you said, and I'll agree with that to the point where you need to be strong in some elements of what the typical, stereotypical man view would be. Because, as you said, being a protector of your family, of your kids, of your wife, of your girlfriend, partner, whatever it may be, and your house, do you know what I mean, your money, all that kind of stuff, you have to have that element. And I still think that needs to be taught to men and women.
Yeah.
And to everyone, really. But there's definitely a time and place, obviously, as well, to show emotion, to talk about stuff. It needs to be more well-rounded, and I do think it will get lost because I do think there's a society at the moment, and it's going to be, I don't think it'll be controversial.
Controversial!
I don't like using that word.
If I get cancelled, Thomas Keating, I'll be fucking sick.
But it will be to the point it's going to get lost where we have a group of people that only talk about feelings and never talk about the other stuff and never learn about how being strong can be, and that's whether it's being a strong person. I'm putting that as a person rather than just a man, woman. Do you know what I mean? All that kind of has to be. So that needs to be at the forefront because my mother is a strong woman. Do you know what I mean? Your mum is. Do you know what I mean? Lots of the mums in the back would have been. Do you know what I mean? But they are strong women in very different ways. Do you know what I mean? Like my mum went out and worked 60-hour weeks sometimes. Like same with my dad. Do you know what I mean? They had to interchange.
They did what they had to do,
and that's the way they raised us, and they raised us well. But it is going to get lost a little bit if it keeps going in the factory of it's going in. But I just think it needs to be. I mean, well, you can be this as well. But you also need to be this also. You need to be, and you have to have a much rounder package than you ever did before.
Yeah.
Because the way the world is, you have to talk because and I don't want to go into this in too much detail, but the suicide rate in say males is
It's huge.
astronomical. It's
It's
stupid.
huge.
It's stupid because again, that term "man up," get it. You need to be
Yeah.
hard. You need to be tough. Just gets thrown too hard, and you're gonna go. What am I supposed to do? I need to
Yeah.
talk to someone.
Well, I like so. This is where we differ, and people that know me and know my coaching style and how I look at things is I think that the word "man up" has been abused to get a point across.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to man up or woman up to get a job done, to get
Yeah.
something done. And like Thomas, like you said, it's yeah, that's cool. Sometimes you have to have you, but you those traits are there
Yeah.
for a positive thing. They can be abused, but also emotionally, other emotions can be abused to get things you want. Like, and we've heard of these things before, and I'm not just pigeonholing, but like women can use their emotion to get something from a man by their crying or manipulation, and all kids do it all the time.
Mm.
Because that's kids only know one way to get stuff is to cry.
Yeah.
Or babies, sorry, because they don't understand that they can do it. Well, they can't do it another way. But I do think, and one of the best sayings I've heard, and I only heard this last year. I'm sure I heard it before, was hard times create strong men, people. Let's say people. Or I'll start it again. Hard times create strong people.
Yeah.
Strong people create easy times. Easy times create weak people. Weak people create hard times. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And we're going through that weak time, I think, for humans, for our society, for how we conduct. And then it will be that will require hard women and hard men to come back into the fold to fix the wrongs that happened. And you're trying oh well, there should be an equal a balance and an equilibrium about it, and there should be. Well, there won't be.
No.
So what's your sort of what's the answer for you when we're in those weak times and we have people that can't function or do things for themselves? Well, my job as a dad is to teach my kids the understand like hard work, to teach them what money is and
Mm.
how to look after their money, and to teach them if they want something to go bloody get it themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hand out anything to my children. I'm going to teach them, and then I'm going to have tough years with them because oh well, such and such's dad down the road does this. I said, well, I don't care. I'm not their parent. But what I'm teaching you is life lessons, and my goal is that when I die, 61 years from now, be 100, yous will be self sufficient.
And
And you
that's
won't
it.
need
Yeah.
money from me. You won't need a handout because you'll know how to do things, and that's the main thing.
That's it. It's always that term like like Shaq made that funny comment of like when his kid turned around and said, "Well, oh, but we're rich." He
Yeah,
goes, no.
yeah,
I'm rich. I worked hard for that money.
yeah,
You're, do you know what I mean?
yeah.
You're my child. I will look after you to what I need to look after you, and I think that's great to a point because I worked hard for it. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? I will yes give you the things you need to be obviously relied
yeah.
in the day to day world. But
And
if you want more, you've got to earn it.
yeah, and you give like obviously I give my kids a little bit more than what I like.
What
I
you
don't
yeah
raise my kids the way they well when I grew up. The things I didn't have, my kids get a little bit more, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a good. But for example, I tell you now, like this, the 3rd of January. This will go out in a couple of weeks. But on the 3rd of January, the first thing my son did this morning is he got up and looked at his chart, and it has a chart now,
yeah
and he has 6 items on the chart. The first thing is make your bed. Second thing is
yeah
if it's well he is not in school, but is your uniform on before you do anything else? So it's make your bed, uniform on,
yeah
and then he has to go through another like there's some like he has to take out the rubbish. He has to take out he has to empty the dishwasher when it needs to be done.
yeah.
He's 6 chores to do per week, and if he does all of them, he will earn his Nintendo Switch game Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If he doesn't, he won't. The other thing, the big thing that I put in is that every evening, instead of watching TV before bed, which is something we fell into because it was easy,
Yeah.
especially if we're putting our like Riley down, was now at because Riley goes down between 6:30 and 7. If the gods are happy with us that day. And then it'll be from Jody goes to bed at 7:30, so from 7 to 7:30 we're going to read every night, whether I want to or not.
Yeah.
But I want him to understand that reading is good, and it's they're little things that he needs to understand. And I think, and we do stuff like this with our kids and our teens in the classes, is that you have to long term gratification, understanding that when you're 20 and reading books is nothing to you.
Yeah.
Where I was 20, to thought of reading a book was horrendous.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, and it wasn't made fun enough for me. It wasn't made enjoyable enough for me. Now my brother and sister read; they loved reading. I never got it, and I know some people don't get it, but it could have been done a different way. Now, unfortunately, like my parents didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
To make me really love books, but I love books now. So how do you do that? So that's what we're doing, and that is something that we have to stick to. Monday to Friday,
Yeah.
we're reading books. Saturday, we probably watch a movie, and then Sunday, I don't know what we're going to do yet, but it's Monday to Friday, so it's routine, and kids need it, and they learn from it, and I think it's very, very important. And like yesterday on New Year's Day, we brought Jody up to one of the highest parts of Glendalough.
Yeah.
And he struggled, like he was tired,
Yeah.
but he's going to do more of it. He's going to do more of it, and I am adamant about putting him outside his comfort zone so many times. So when something does happen to him, he'll be able to.
You should be able to relate back to it and go,
Yeah, I've
"Well,
done
that was
worse.
tougher. That
I've
was
done harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's hugely important, especially if you're a parent.
Oh, massively, massively. Because like again, we always try and just go. Always look back to what your parents did with yourself. Do you know what I mean? And you'll always go right, and you'll always really say, "I'm never going to do that."
Yeah.
Let's face it, we've all done the exact same as our parents a few times there and there. Do you know what I mean? But again, like you're saying, I give my kids, like we give our kids like more than we probably would have got as well. It's an understandable thing. But again, the reading thing, something again we do as well with them. Something that their mum is always introducing on an evening side of things. Layla now reads to Thomas of an evening.
Cool.
Do you know what I mean? Which
Yeah,
is pretty
really
cool.
cool,
And it's really nice. She's there doing it, and he's now starting to learn to read. So she's now like a teacher at times, and she's going, "What's this word?" And he's then doing it, and it's really really cool. So, and again, it's would have been like you. I would have read right the way through school and been very very happy with it. But late teens, early 20s, no interest.
Yeah.
Back into it. I'm more of an audiobook person now because I just can't sit as long as I used to.
I would listen to more audiobooks. Now I do. One of my goals this year is, well, it was actually to read every book that I've been given that I haven't read yet. Which is when I broke it down and did the maths, it's not possible because I'm a slow reader. I don't read fast. So my goal is to read 2 books a month.
Oof, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one. I probably will be. I have a number, obviously 2 books a month, 12, 24 books in the year. The goal is to read 24 books. I'm not allowed to use audiobooks as a book. Because I listen to a lot of, I'll listen to a bunch of audiobooks when I run and when I'm in the office and stuff. It's easier. So
no, that's cool. But now again, like with everything with the kind of kids stuff, like gentlemen, we gotta go and just do our best. That's all it is. All I'm doing is every day doing the best I can. And you go out there and you're trying to teach them the lessons that one you were taught as well.
Yeah.
And add on top of them with the lessons that are out there nowadays. Do you know what I mean? And about, do you know what I mean? So it's about just
Thomas's phone. He's just going to go over and cancel that right now.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, that's not. That's your phone.
Oh, my phone. Okay, it's my phone. Oh, it'll stop in a second.
But it's about trying to just be there as much as you can, and then again, as we go back to what we said before, is showing them that it's okay to it's okay to want stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But you've got to earn it.
And the other thing, as I always say, is it's one of the things I've always believed, and to Susan's, my wife's detriment, she hates me saying it, is you were like that. And I said, yeah, and I want my son to be better. Oh, well, that's what you do. Yeah, and I want my son to be better.
Yeah.
I want my son and my daughter to exceed anything that I achieve in life and do it bigger and do it better.
Yeah.
And if they don't, but they're happy, that's cool. They mightn't be driven or driven like me. Could be like their mum and not as driven. Again, it's not a bad thing, but I want them to never have to worry about money, as in to the point where am I going to lose my company? Am I going to lose my house?
Yeah.
Am I going to eat or pay rent? That type of stuff. Never want that to happen to them. I want them to grow up understanding that that can happen. And how I teach that is by teaching them to be very uncomfortable in situations.
Yeah.
But not in the financial world. So they understand hard times, but they won't have to understand financial hard times.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me, that's just one of my big things. And I've said this so many times. Like there's a lot of fear that I have when it comes to my kids. Like what people don't know, and Susan kind of finds that she goes, "Oh, you're so cute when I do it." Is when Jody goes out to play with his friends, I get so anxious.
Right.
He mightn't be liked. Now he goes out to play with
Yeah.
them all the
Yeah.
time. But I know there's been where he's had a fight with another kid, and like the first thing I want to do is go out and get that kid, pick him up by his throat, and slam him to the ground, and go, "What's the story?" And then obviously a second later, I go, "Well, you can't do that," but that's just my father protector
Yeah.
instinct. And people that say they don't have that, as like everyone has it. Mums have. I think women have it more than dads because the mama bear syndrome protector.
Yeah.
But I get very anxious when he has to do something new, and kids can pick up on it. So I try my very, very best to. And if he does come in and kids have not played with him, or he like the other day he went out and he came back in 5 minutes later, I said, "Hey, what's up? What happened?" They all go in. He goes, "No, I was just bored. I want to come in." They weren't really doing anything. I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool." But that's what happened.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, I'm like, I want to make sure my son's okay. At the
Yeah.
same time, that can be I can see where that could be a hindrance to kids and actually a, a crutch and bubble wrapping helicopter parenting
Yeah.
if you're not willing to let them have a friend sneak off on them or uh, pick a fight with her. Like
Yeah.
we had friends that we wouldn't call for stuff like that, or be playing with someone, we see someone else go play with them. It's not a nice thing to do, but it happens, and
Yeah.
that's life, and they all have to go through it. And you can't, if you try and protect your kid from it, they're only going to find the world a fucking worse place
Yeah.
because they have to learn these things as kids because it's human nature.
Well, exactly. Do you know what I mean? Again, like the friends we say grew up with initially. Do you know what I mean? Again, do we see them all the time? No. Do you know what I mean? Again, like we're mates now. I think it's about 25, 26 years now.
Yeah.
Coming on 30. But again, do you know what I mean when we knew each other in primary school? We didn't hang around each other then. Do you
No,
know what I mean?
no.
So again, it's those type of things. I had that fear when both my kids went to school
Yes.
of, oh shit, they're in a proper school now. Do you know what I mean? They're in what would be it's called reception and year 3 in England, but it's the equivalent of junior infant and first
Yeah.
class. And when they make that transition from being in a nursery or a creche to actually going out and then this is real shit now, I was like, oh, Thomas is funny, he's cool, but I think that. Are them kids going to think
Yeah.
that? And they're like, oh no, right here we go. And the same with Layla as well when she again made the transition from the junior part now going into the slightly senior elements of it. And you're like, okay, she's had friends for a little bit. What's going to change here?
Yeah.
Because she's the youngest in her class, like the dead youngest in her class. Like all her kids, she's 7 and she turned 7 in August. Like all her friends are 8.
And that's a
Do you know what I mean?
huge maturity
Yeah.
age as well. The switch.
Yeah, and Layla does have like some really, really nice naivety and innocence
Yeah.
about her. But she's also on the transition of getting close to her friends that
Yeah.
haven't that there's a whether it's like they're starting to like certain types of music now and maybe a kids program changes. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Layla might watch still a program that's defined as, oh, that's a bit too baby like. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's those things where you think, what's she saying in school? What's she doing? Is she still getting involved with it? Are people still liking her the way she is? And again, same with Thomas. I'm terrified of that. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because even when I go and do new things, do you know what I mean? I'm scared when I still do that at
Yeah.
39 years old. I now have the skill set to do obviously to not care as much if it
Yeah.
doesn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Or do you know what I mean? To go, well, I'm never going to see them again. Do you know what I mean? So it's that element of it. But like I joined the drama group a few years back. Do you know what I mean? Hadn't done that for ages. I was thinking, all right, here we go. Do you know what I mean? There's clicks. There's clicks as you get older.
And there's always, and
Yeah,
it's
and
that's the thing.
yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. It's always going to be this. Always going to be around.
Yeah.
In school, I think you end up with a lot of friends, but it's association friends.
Mm.
It's not true long term friends, and then you have true long term friends.
Mm.
But yeah, it's like Susan was only saying you today, like her son Jody, he's turned 6, and he's now a kind of officially out of being a little boy.
Yeah.
He's now going towards the other aspect, and that's kind of because, and what comes with that is a whole new interaction with him that is cool and awesome. But then the other stuff we lose because he's getting older, the cuddles and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I got totally brushed off the Christmas week, bringing Jody to school, and we're listening to we like I stick on music and like stick on crazy music, and he loves it, and well, he used to love it. And we're getting out of the car, and I'm like bopping away still, and he's like, "Stop!" And I was like, "What do you mean stop?" And he goes, "Stop!" I said, "Am I embarrassing you?" He goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, firstly, he gave me a red flag, so I was like, yeah, now I'm gonna double down
Yeah.
because I'm a dad, and that's what dads do."
That's what we're made
So
for.
I annoyed him all the way into class, and then when I was like, what I noticed is he doesn't hug as much as he used to
Yeah.
going into school, and he doesn't say like I have to say I love you,
Yeah.
and then he'll go yeah, and then I'll go I
Yes.
love you, and I go love you, and because obviously that's more again me being a dad and trying to embarrass my
Yeah.
son. But noticing that, but then I noticed the other things that are coming because he's a little bit more mature, and he's doing things that he wants to try new things, and I love that about him. Whereas when he was younger, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
So like
The
again,
conversations change as well, which
oh
are fun.
yeah,
They're so much fun. Do you know what I mean? Like again, like Thomas is 4, and his conversation, and he's just funny. He's just ridiculously. And but again, from when he was in nursery to now when he's in interacting with slightly older kids, and
yeah,
and the teachers are obviously very different as well. The conversation gets different, and it's becomes and Layla is 7 going on 17 at the moment. You're like, oh, gee, here we go. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't need this yet. Do you know what I mean? So, and you're like, it's amazing. But I do very like again. I still get a few of the cuddles and that. Like again, when they come around to mine and stuff like that. It's a very different dynamic, obviously, to what you have. But like,
yeah,
but there is an element of that now where well, I'm not giving you a cuddle.
yeah,
What do you mean? Okay, no, I'm not saying I love you. Leave me alone. I mean, that's weird. And it's that like. Whereas I remember I brought Thomas in for his first day. I've
yeah,
never seen a child run away from a parent as quick. Like,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? Just to get in somewhere, like you're like, see it. No, okay, right, he's gone.
But I think all that kind of nervous, it's always the parent. It's
Mm,
always the parent's
yeah,
feelings that the kid feels that. But 90% times, more than likely not.
yeah,
And if the kid does feel it, it's because the kid's just mirroring what the parent's doing.
yeah,
Because if you're anxious, the kid can pick up on that, and that's a normal thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's it. No, it's definitely true. Do you know what I mean? But hey, that's what we live for, isn't it?
that's it. So we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna finish off with my new favorite question.
Go on.
What is your biggest fear in life? No, it can be work related, it can be family related. It obviously can't just be like, I like scary clowns and all that. It's not like what you're afraid of.
Not
But
like spiders or anything like
what would be your biggest fear?
that. I've discussed this with you briefly before. So I won't go into too much detail of it, but I'm now I'm separated from the kid's mum.
Yeah,
I have a fear and a big fear and it's my fear of my kids not wanting to be around me as much.
yeah,
Now I'm not naive to think that when they get older, that would have happened anyway. But it becomes a different dynamic when new people come into lives and
yes,
stuff like that. So and I'll point out like as well that like me and their mum very civil, great
mm,
relationship. Kids get looked after, they're the priority. But my downright fear is that element of them wanting nothing to do with me.
mm,
And which is why I do all the things I do with my kids.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? To make sure they're safe, they're happy, they're having fun. They get some things that they're allowed to have. They don't get the other things that
yeah.
like, do you know what I mean?
You're
So
a parent. That's the
yeah,
main thing. Yeah,
and so that for me would be that element of as a parent, yeah, that would be my biggest one.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good answer. I say that as a lot of dads. I'm sure some mums that don't have their kids, but it's predominantly dads that wouldn't have their kids permanently.
Yeah.
Is that would be the big fear, and yeah, like your kids when they become teenagers will probably want nothing to do with you unless you're giving them money or bring them somewhere eventually, because that's teenagers. They're just a disaster. But yeah, that's a good one.
It's yeah, it is. It's and I know they're not. Do you know what I mean? I know I've got a good enough relationship with kids and their mum
Yeah.
to be able to know that that's not going to happen. I don't feel like I'm going to be replaced, but
Mm.
it's still in the back of the head. It's still down there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're thinking, and again, it fuels me more to be a better dad. Do you know what I mean? To be there, to do the better things, to make the mistakes. Oh, right, I've done that wrong. Do you know what I mean? I've got to make sure I don't do that again.
Yeah.
So again, it's about what we spoke about at the start of trying to turn a negative into a positive. Again, a very cliched thing, but it is very true in the sense that it will fuel me to be a better dad. Do you know what I mean? All the way through. And there's a saying that I talk about, like, which I want to do more of with my kids, and I try and do more of this. Like, so every moment has the potential to become a memory.
Yeah.
I want to make as many memories with my kids as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So the more memories I make with them, the more they'll have.
Yeah.
So it's that element of kind of going, right, if I continue to do those things, that fear shouldn't come to fruition.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I want my daughter to be able to come to me whenever they need to. But my job is to be a parent at the end of the day. It is to raise them so they can be self-sufficient. But then I also want them to be like, I want to be their biggest hero.
Mm.
I want to be my dad. Or if they need anything or need advice, not need anything, but if they need advice, I'm gonna go to my dad. Or you need to go talk to my dad because he'll be able to help you out.
Yeah.
That's where I wanted to be, and then it's like that. That's kind of where I'd like it to be honest. But I'll leave you with this, and this is a complete joke, and it's kind of off topic, but I thought it was very funny, so I'm gonna say it. Hopefully, I get it right. Okay, so I seen this. Me and Susan, we literally broke down laughing. This is hilarious. So here, it's a little thought. When you die, you're dead. Now, bear with me, right? So when you die, you're dead.
Yeah.
You've no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you're dead. Everyone around knows it. That's the same thing if you're stupid. I'm going to leave you with that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to take it. I'm going to say it's mine. It's not. Guys, if you like the show, again, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel on Podbean, Spotify. Obviously, leave a positive comment. Or if you have a funny joke, leave it. I don't know. I might even throw it out there in the next one.
Get another dad joke in there.
Dad jokes everywhere. So yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you all on the next one.
You're listening to the Live, Play podcast.